I was getting that going, dude. But welcome back to another episode of Onward and Upward. I am Emily, your co-host today, along with Kurt Roskoff. And we have Mr. Robert Rosenthal with us today. Over to you, Kurt.
All right. Thank you, Emily. So yeah, I am Kurt Roskoff. Pleased to be co-hosting these shows with Emily, with podcasting, live streaming, creating video production here with Onward and Upward. Onward and Upward, a nonprofit that serves individuals that are experiencing homelessness, home insecurity, houselessness. So with this group, we tend to get down to the basics real easily about food, shelter, and clothing. So we are about the philanthropic space, but as a nonprofit, we like to collaborate. We like to benchmark with other nonprofits as well. And today we have a guest, Robert. He promotes AI, and he's got a nice entity that he builds up as the PhD and follow-up. And with that, a nice system. So with AI and another system we're going to be talking about, before we started the intro, I held up a card, which is produced through this system. So it's going to be a great show. I trust that you're going to like it. And we all met through, or I shouldn't say we all met. Emily and I met through Onward and Upward. And then in the work that her and I are doing, outreaching for Onward and Upward as a nonprofit, we in August of 2020, we chose to connect to a nice community worldwide called the Happy Neighborhood Project. So check it out at hmpadc.com. That'll forward you to the full domain website, happyneighborhoodproject.com. They're both the same page. And you can see where the magic is happening that brings Robert with us today, and free happy business networking. It's out there as the happiest place on earth for business people. So we're going to give the business that Robert brings to us a little twist, and we're really going to drill down and specialize our exchanges for how his business might be applied to nonprofits. And we're going to learn about a nonprofit that is something of a significance to Robert's life, and, a devotion here. So again, we're all part of the Transform You Media family. This podcast is made possible by Transform You, and it's, kind of it's propelled through a collaborative project, the World of Ability Podcast Network. So with that, Emily, you want to get us going? Let's get the conversation started, and let's see what Robert's all up to. How do you want to start, Emily?
Thank you for joining us, Robert. I should start out with start explaining the send out cards.
Give you some background. I've been sober for January, will be 33 years. Before that, I had a PhD in negative attention. I was very good. I could teach the course. And I just chose to get sober, and my life turned around. And then I got into business, and I talked to a lot of people, but they knew me from my old negative regime. So I said, there must be a way for me to contact these people on a regular basis to let them know that I've basically got my act together. And somebody talked to me about greeting cards in 2007. And I put no credence in it. If you need a greeting card, I'll go to Walgreens and buy a greeting card, which I never did. Then somebody said, who would like half a dozen free greeting cards? I raised my hand because free was cheap enough. And I sent out half a dozen cards. Receptivity in the other end blew me away. Some people sent me a greeting card and thanking me for my greeting card. So I got involved in PhD and follow-up. And it's all about follow-up. Money's in the follow-up, a lot of sayings. And I like to help people. I'm very into helping. For 15 years, I worked with the Salvation Army in San Diego, feeding the homeless on Thanksgiving and Christmas. It was just a heartfelt thing. There was no money involved, so I really dug into it. When money's involved, my head flips and does something else. But I like volunteering. I volunteered at rehab centers, letting people know that I'm very hard on rehab, on sobriety, because I know some people that committed suicide. So I volunteer. I just volunteer once a week, 40 people. And I said, you have to go to 90 meetings in 90 days. Anybody have a problem with that? Half a dozen people always raise their hand. I said, what's the problem? Well, I have kids and I have school and I have bowling. I said, how often do you drink? Every day. So you drank every day and you have kids and bowling and everything else, and you have a void, find a meeting. So it's into volunteering, or it comes from the heart. And that's what I do. I've sent 24,000 greeting cards in 13 years. Sometimes I send a greeting card just to say, I'm thinking of you. I don't do any selling at all in a greeting card. And I'm not here to sell greeting cards. It's a way to communicate, let people know they appreciate them.
Yeah, that's awesome. Right, Kurt? Or does Kurt have any
Hatless.
questions for you?
Sounds good. I like it, Emily.
Yeah, we know Ian does the send out my cards, right? Or something similar to sending out cards, or is that something else?
No, there's people all around the world that send
Yeah.
out cards. So yeah.
Yeah, I
A
don't
friend of ours, Ian, is also in the send out cards community. Absolutely.
I send about 45 to 47 birthday cards every Sunday for the following Wednesday to the week after that, Tuesday. It takes me about 25 seconds to do it. And people text me all during the week, thank you for my card. And I say, thank you for having a birthday. Win-win.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, just talking about the thing about the homeless. That's one of the things that Onward and Upward is trying to combat, the whole helping like the homeless population, especially in regards to employment and getting well, eventually, once we get back up and going, housing as well. But yeah, Carrie, you want to add anything?
Well, I want to tie a few things together, I guess, since the conversation unfolded the way it did. We're talking about substance use reduction. We're talking about homelessness, and we brought up suicide, which brings us into the whole mental health community. So when you start to combine all these things and you say, okay, you've got the mental health community, the substance use community, and then the specific efforts of suicide ideation and homelessness, and like I said, food, shelter, and clothing. So you might be talking about poverty here, and with the element of suicide, I was just on a meeting earlier today. It's a little bit of why I was wearing my Scottish hat earlier, minutes ago, that we had a co-host party for the Happy Neighborhood Project, and just had a lot of fun doing that. And that's where I got my hat out, and I've been wearing it ever since. And then we had a worldwide main event. So it just kind of gave me a little different twist for my free happy business networking. And then we had a fireside chat with the founder and CHO, Chief Happiness Officer, Edwin Edeberry. And I shared with the group about Veterans Ranch, a gentleman by the name of JR. So that's one of these nonprofits that we like to promote. And he's having an event in January. We're down in Florida. They're going to have a tremendous experience provided by the Veterans Ranch. And it's kind of to get everybody culminating and seeing the demonstration and seeing how the magic happens on their property down there in Florida. So with that, we have a veteran coalition where with the Veterans Ranch, our Onward and Upward, and 4 other veteran service organizations, we're doing an event February 22nd called 222 to Save 22. So as I start talking here, I come at all of this from a disability advocacy perspective. I serve on the board of directors for Madison Spinal Cord Injury Group, and so what I learned there is, as a spinal cord injury group, what is being done to help deal with what we're talking about here when we talk about substance use, that is an influencer for many when they come upon a spinal cord injury, and then they're trying to cope with the ramifications of that. And then with the spinal cord injury, the mental health additional challenges. They might have already had mental health challenges. Now they have a spinal cord injury and could be compounding it. And so for a nonprofit like a spinal cord injury group, there has to be training in place, because you have to have some idea when you're in a conversation, and then you might be able to suspect potentially suicide ideation. And then what happens is that we do QPR, question, because you got to have that exchange, and you got to use that process of questioning and see how they answer, if they'll open up and answer anything. Everybody might be in a different position. So if you're successful in having an interrogative, and then to confirm your own thoughts about what you're participating in, then a question is this something that you'd be willing to let me help you with? And then if that moves forward, that they are saying, yes, I would love to have your help, I need your help, maybe, then you persuade them. You go through a persuasion process to get them to open up the capacity. Now that, unless you're a professional in this arena, you have to then go the next step to get a professional involved, to give this person the maximum help possible. And then that last step is the referral, and to stay with that person in suicide ideation, to know that there's been a firm handoff, that person is under the care of a professional. So as all this stuff is going on, it's essential that for the continued success of it, for the ongoing management of a nonprofit, a lot of times tools are a great friend. So as we're doing this, we talk about the thank you economy. In nonprofit business, we say that the guidepost is, for every person involved in your service, in your organization, you would aim in managing the year in and year out experience to give a thank you. You got to think about how you as a leader are giving thank yous to each and every person, because if you want to retain them in your community, that is what the world has shown is about what you need to make sure and do the best you can. And realtors do this too. Realtors want your business, and they keep in contact with you, because when the time comes where you're going to relocate, you want to be that one that they go to. So same thing with a nonprofit. When you have Giving Tuesday or any other time where they're thinking of giving or volunteering, you want to have that presence of mind. So Robert, you want to pick up on that and help us take a deeper dive into send out cards and how send out.
What you're talking about is called tomato, top of mind awareness through others. With real estate people, keeping in I have friends in the Midwest who 100% of their business is referrals because of the cards. They keep in contact with their past clients, let them know they care, appreciate them. Send a graduation card when their sons graduate. They probably send 2, 3, 4 cards every single day. It's letting people know you care. That's the bottom line. Won't do anything unless they know you care. It doesn't matter. It's all about appreciation, love, affection, and letting them know that, because we need more love and caring and affection in this planet. It's easy when you talk about money. It's much more difficult when you're talking about what you're talking about, volunteering time and energy and money. So I enjoy volunteering because there's no money involved. It's all from the heart. When I needed, people were there. So I like to give back.
That is great. So here with our podcasting platform, again, with Transforming Media Network, and with my role, I'm an ambassador with the Disability Channel, showcasing abilities. So we have a nice little media group here that's collaborative. We're all separate entities, but we all culminate it into projects like this. And we're seeing a lot of more people interested in podcasting. It's becoming quite a thing. So, so for example, like with talking about send out cards, it's a way to make sure we're getting out there and getting more people introduced to send out cards. And we haven't even got into the AI system that you've talked to us about before and again today. But one thing I want to share is that, again, I started with the Happy Neighborhood Project August 2020. And that was a point in time where I was just, I might say, a couple months, or is kind of in that time where I was getting to know Emily. And so we're podcasting, and Emily's an assistant with the founder of Onward and Upward, Anne Marie Oblivion, who now has earned her PhD, talking about PhD in follow-up. Anna Maria is now Dr. Bliven, and just today we're having fun with it. And I guess it's catching on to call her Dr. B now. So
How many people, how many volunteers do you have?
Emily, would you say, very loosely, I might say a dozen, but really there's only 4 of us about, Emily, that really drive Onward and Upward at this point, right, Emily?
You're
Let's
muted.
get that card again.
Yes, yes.
From Send Out Cards right here.
Yeah, I
Send
know,
Out
I know,
Cards.
right? Yeah, I think we only have 4 that I know for sure who've been the ones like really doing
How many people roughly
anything as of late.
How many people volunteer?
So
Well,
so I think so,
Now, Robert, you kind of stunned her there, because what's happening is Anna Maria founded Prosperity Pathways, a for-profit company, approaching 9 years ago. So a solid 8 years of running the nonprofit, helping people find jobs. And then it's kind of going towards 5 years ago. This past summer, we were celebrating 4 years of Onward and Upward. And it's been quite a process. And so I guess what's happened is, in the last few months, we kind of went through a little period where we had a little spike of progress through the Wisconsin Dells area, actually. And so that kind of petered away a little bit right now. And a couple of our volunteers, or actually staff, there actually was grant money we were working with, and that dried up. So we're in a little different time. And I mentioned about the Veteran Coalition. So we're shifting our energies into more of a collaborative design. So in terms of picturing that we have volunteers in place to respond to homelessness and whatever, that's not really the case. So now we're really just more of sharing our background, familiarity, and just kind of helping people be pointed in the right direction right now.
What would you use cards for? What could you use cards for?
Well, as an example, we're running this February 22nd event. So I don't know. I mean, in terms of actually handling the business of event promotion and doing that, I don't know. But send out cards could be a great thing to work in synergy with our efforts to promote that event. Because again, 4 years plus of history, and there's a lot of context that we've lost touch with. So now if we took their addresses, sent something out, kind of got that little presence of mind with them, and then we kind of percolate more social media and maybe emailing them and whatever, can fit into a nice way to re-solidify our base here. And even to your point, we could kind of get to where we have some volunteers coming to us and raising their hands saying, I want to volunteer. What you guys are doing is great. Tell me how I can help and volunteer.
If there's some way we can get a hold of the names and addresses, there's a whole series of things you can do. We use VAs for a bunch of stuff, and we can send a card with your branding on the back, because all my cards have my own branding. I'll show you. So this is my branding on the back.
Oh.
I don't know if you can read it.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's true.
And this is my information on the top. I don't put any selling in the card at all
Yeah.
on purpose. But there can be a way that if we can get a hold, and I'm not talking about thousands, but we get a hold of some old people, we could develop a card that we can send out at our cost with your information on it, with your branding on the back.
What do you think of that idea, Karen? I guess I'd have to run it through Anna Maria, but that sounds like it could be maybe a good thing.
Well, especially when she learns that you're going to pay for it, Emily, she'll take it.
Right.
You set yourself up for that one, Emily. I had to take it. So, but yeah, I mean, it is Robert in person.
That's
So
what I
that
wear
is-
at events out there, and they see that, and I say, "Yeah, I'm not a Zoom."
Oh, that way. Okay. Robert is in, the doctor of follow-up, PhD and follow-up. Good stuff. So, all right, Emily, where do you want to go from here? Let's keep her rolling.
Get a list of people who you had in contact at one time that lost contact for multitude of reasons, and a list of existing people, and put together some words that can be put on a card about your February project. What you do is we send a campaign. We can make a campaign with same card will go to a bunch of people. Each person will get their name on the card as if the only one getting it. Then we get closer to February, we send them another card. And then on this event, is this all going to be virtual or is it live in person?
I believe it's going to be, we're hoping that it's a hybrid event, so both in person and online.
Well, the ones in person who they have to register, my suggestion is that you get their address and you get their month and day of their birthday, not the year. The year doesn't matter.
Okay.
We also did digital birthday cards. I send them every day. It's just keeping you in their mind. That's the bottom line.
Yeah. Yeah, we could send them out to former clients or anybody.
Everybody.
Yeah, and everybody that we currently work with. Like, and then we could have the coalition send them out to their network.
Yeah, you don't put a lot of information on the card. You just let them know that you're thinking about them and care about them, and you have this event coming up.
Yeah.
You keep it short, sweet, and love.
Or do you think the coalition would have any interest in that, or?
Well, I mean, I guess what we learn in putting this to practice is it's dangerous territory to pre-qualify people until you give somebody a chance to make a highly informed decision. I don't think any of us on planet Earth should be claiming a decision of another person. So in terms of, we're bringing up about the coalition, and do we
Well,
think
I said if they're interested, I'm not saying that they would go along with it necessarily. I'm just saying.
Well, they might fall over, like they might say, like, geez, how long have you known Robert? Like, why did you wait so long to tell us about him and the send out cards thing? I mean, sometimes you're doing somebody a disservice by waiting. So maybe on Monday's agenda.
Yeah, that's what I was just
maybe
thinking.
Robert, maybe you got to come to our meeting on Monday and present, maybe we got to get right to this first thing next week.
My motto is I want it all, I want it now, I want it delivered.
Emily, make that happen. Make it so.
Okay, I'll see what I can do.
What I need to do is put you in touch with my partner of 9 years, Andrea.
Okay.
Yeah, we've very close. I'm front man, she does all the work, and she covers all my weaknesses, of which there are many. Total trust. She has my credit cards. When we go to convention, we share a room. She's happily married with a child. I have a girlfriend of 7 years. but she will get very involved in this because she has contact with the VAs.
Awesome. Yeah, if you're give us her contact info. I could certainly reach out to her.
Yeah.
As that'd be the second, by the time we're done here, I get anyway. Judy, I wanted to go not the AA thing we were talking about before, but the other direction that we were talking about.
Well, I believe you're talking about talk more about the rehab aspect,
Yeah, that's the word I was trying to.
So,
Yeah,
so Robert,
I
you
was
want to
gonna think
share a little bit more with our audience about before we went to recording and live streaming? You shared a little something about your devotion to the rehab and that you're committed to it, and it's just a significant little piece in your life. And you made a mention of it earlier in the show, but anything more you want to bring out on that?
Liquor at one time I equated liquor with love. My father was a very successful businessman, never home. But when he came home, he always said, make us a couple of martinis. So I equated liquor to love. Then I ran hotels where liquor was free. I had a nightclub in New York on Fifth Avenue. People come in and give me cocaine and give them drinks. The liquor was always free. And moved to California and decided I needed to get clean. So I went to my own intervention in December of '88. And I talked about inpatient and outpatient. I said, what's the difference other than the money? And they said, how much did you do and how often? I knew how to be inpatient. About the 28th of December of '88. I said, when should I check in? They said, tomorrow. I said, I can't tomorrow. Why can't you tomorrow? I said, because on the 1st and 2nd of January is the Rose Bowl, Cotton Bowl, and all the bowl games. I need to see them. So I checked in on the 3rd of January stoned. And my first sober day was the 4th of January, '89. The most important thing I said before I left is I would leave my ego at home and do what they tell me to do. I wasn't required to like it. I was required to do it. And for almost 33 years, it's worked. How bad you want it? I have a PhD in excuses to drink. So if you need one, call me.
Okay.
It's number one in my life. My girlfriend is very important to me, and she knows that my sobriety is number one, and she accepts number two, or it wouldn't be together.
Yeah, that's important.
If she wants to go out to eat and I want to go to a meeting, I go to a meeting and she accepts. Zero problem.
Yeah, it's important.
Number one. So the problem is not the situation is many people go to AA because they're court ordered or they're going to save their marriage. Many people say, I'm here because my wife made me go here. Not going to work. You got to go there and be there because you want to be there. In addition, if you're in AA, your wife or girlfriend or whatever, your significant other must go to something like Al-Anon because she's going to understand that she can get very upset you're into AA. If she doesn't go into something like some recovery on that, better than 50% chance she'll get divorced. And I've seen it happen. Close friends of mine say it's never going to happen. They are divorced because she didn't go to a program. She's understand it's not her problem. She's just a part of it. Both people have to be in recovery. I know 4 people that committed suicide. One had 3 kids and wife was pregnant with number 4. It's a killer disease.
Yeah. Yeah. It's part of the reason why we're having.
If you guys know anybody that has a problem, they're open to texting me. I'll probably text my number. Well, you got my number. They are open to text me anytime. If they want to meet at 4 o'clock in the morning, I'll say, you want to meet in person or on Zoom? I don't take any prisoners at AA because I am very into it. Doesn't make me good, just makes me sober.
Yeah. You want to say anything about, because that's not the drinking part of it, but even though that's probably contributes to it for our event, Kurt. 222, then suicide.
Yeah, well, let me interject with a little.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you had anything, any comments first.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to take a moment here to share how this has definitely hit close to home for me. I served as an EMT for 10 years, and I lost one. Well, actually, for me, I knew a friend who lost his life to suicide. I knew him before I got involved as an EMT, but during my time in service as an EMT, he too, serving our community as an EMT, he lost his life to suicide, and that was a process, getting my mind around that. And I realized later that I go through the experience differently, and I actually had to apply that insight. So I give a remembrance to my cousin, Jeffrey Scott Engelking. Took his, or I shouldn't say took his life, he lost his life to suicide. So experiencing the substance use, the suicide ideation, the mental health challenges, the issues of, matching up to society's expectations, and how we do have an element in our society that, we are tough on each other. If you really think about it, actually just over this last weekend, simply doing a U-Haul rental, because basically my wife got a bargain with U-Haul, or not with U-Haul, a bargain with a medical facility, like a senior care center type thing. And they were there was a buyout apparently, and so they were clearing out this building, and the whole thing was restructuring. So they had all this property in this building, and it went up for auction, online auction. And so my wife participated in that auctioning, and she got a bunch of stuff, enough stuff that we needed a U-Haul, folks. So we rented a U-Haul, and there were issues in the service of U-Haul, and they overcharged us. They didn't even handle the transaction properly. So we go to take care of that. So their answer is call U-Haul customer service, so which is not the end of the world. But I'm like, wow, what a day we live in where, somebody makes a mistake and they don't own up for the mistake. So here we are, the customer, and they're telling us what to do to call customer service. So they take our money, and now it's like they held us hostage. So it's like, if you want your money back, call customer service, which isn't the worst thing. But I just thought of the frame of mind. And as I'm going through this, I'm like thinking, as with anything, you don't know what that person's background is, what they're dealing with. And then also when you're getting served by people in these positions, let's keep in mind that we're in a new day and time today in the world, and more so in the USA, because they call today's time the Great Resignation, which is another reason why having the business of send out cards is so important, because people are not taking these jobs like working for U-Haul or working at a gas station, or, and I was actually talking to the regional manager here for U-Haul in my area, and we were talking about these things. And so he was going to be meeting with the ownership of this U-Haul place, because it's just a very unusual thing. But I was kind of having this conversation with the person who, unbeknownst to me, was checking out my wife with the U-Haul rental. I thought he was just a guy hanging out. And but my wife is talking to me about how she was just told to call the U-Haul line. And I'm like having this conversation about, I think they should be. Well, this guy is out there outside hearing her conversation. I don't know why ended up outside. I don't know if he was taking a break after he took care of my wife or whatever. But he was like, I was there with my wife, daughter, and our dogs. While my wife went in, I hung out with my daughter, and our dog was there. And this guy is complimenting our dog. So great conversation. And then he's kind of chiming into the conversation my wife and I were having. I don't know why he felt the need to, but he's like, oh yeah, they take, and I respond to him like, I think you actually should be calling, because that's where I'm learning that he's the staff person. And he didn't like that. And he's like, oh yeah, they take good care of, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, I appreciate that, but it's really something how you all make a mistake and I got to call. I'm just talking to the guy. I'm just kind of bantering back, like matching him for what he says. And then he's like, well, you got to take that up with the owner. And I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, let's get the owner involved. I'm sure he wants to take care of me. So yeah, let's call him in. And he's like, how many times do I got to tell you? You just got to call U-Haul. And I'm like, maybe 100. I don't know. And he did not like that. He's like, you know what? I'm just going to call the cops. I'm like, yeah, call the police.
So this is the owner who's saying about the.
No. This is the employee.
That's okay.
Employee is telling me, so the owner is going to come in. It was like, that was a threat. I'm like, no, let's talk to the owner. And then he was going to call the police, and that was a threat. And I actually ended up calling both later on because I ran out of time. We called the U-Haul customer service and stayed on the line for 9 minutes. There was 9 before 5. And then all of a sudden at 5 p.m., the call disconnected. And it's like, why did the call disconnect? So we called back, and I'm like, see, this is why you got to stay right at the point of sale while this is all going on. So something really simple like a U-Haul rental blew up in this whole thing. You know, I ended up sharing my experience through reviews and everything online. I called all the customer service line. I stayed on it. And, U-Haul ended up actually giving a free rental. They rebated all the money now. I didn't ask for it. I wasn't expecting. I told them
that's the right thing to do.
Yeah, but I told him I'll take it as a Christmas present. Thank you very much. And I appreciate the gesture. Yeah, right thing to do. So I'm waiting to see how this all works with this gas station that's been around for a long time, and they're
reputable. And the guy who gave you a hard time, a thank you card.
Right. Yeah, because again, we don't know what they're dealing with. And again, they're in a job that it's not like they're making any big bucks. So I'm not there to like make this guy's job or make his shift worse than it needs to be. Because I don't know, I've never done that job before, but I'm picturing it's probably not all that fun. It's probably okay because there's probably interesting people coming and going. But for the most part, you're maybe at some point thinking, yeah, I wish I would be able to have another job, but you take what you can get. But many people are not taking that job. And that's where home businesses are getting to be, very popular. But in terms of the veteran suicide side of it, what I learned in December anyway, in a meeting earlier this month, it was taught to me that we talk 22 all the time because a decade of awareness is invested in that number. So it's a very popularly known number. 22 veterans a day lose their life to suicide. But actually, at the present time, it's 33 veterans a day. So it's grown 150%. So when they started the whole awareness on 22, they did it to drive the number down. Like today, it would be 11. But no, it grew, and now it's 33. So this is a big issue. And so Robert, I love what you do is send out cards. It's a real deal that we do need to share our love for each other. And, like I shared about losing my cousin. I mean, it gets you thinking about, boy, what I could have done maybe. I mean, to kind of be there a little closer to him. I never would have thought that my cousin, you never think it's going to happen to you. But, and I knew he was having issues and so forth, but you just kind of figure like, he'll get through it, whatever, but it's a real thing. All of a sudden the bad day can happen, be in that dark place, and, the disease aspect sets in and your brain starts doing stuff that is not really representative to what you had in your whole life and what life could have been if that disease element did not set in. So I feel this is the most important thing I can do because, to me, with anything I can do in life, what is it worth if I know there's a brother or sister in humanity that comes under this disease of suicide ideation, loses their life, and then you got nothing. You got nothing to, no value to offer, and you can put love energy out to the universe maybe in their passing away, but that there's none of that human experience available anymore, because like I'm with the disability channel, so you're kind of careful about using the word disabled, but upon death, I mean, that's pretty much what happens is your body becomes disabled. So I was talking even today, these conversations are life or death situations. And I bet if we scoured the send out cards community, I bet you we could probably find a testimonial where somebody is saying, you know what, I was in that dark place. I got the card and I went down into tears because, to your point, Robert, I felt the love and that brought me out of the dark place. I mean, not to say that's the way to handle it, but that probably is out there, I would guess.
It happened to the owner of send out cards. He
Really?
was in church, and the organist, he sent a card to the organist because he appreciated everything she was doing. And then he saw her, and she said that card saved her life because she thought life was history. She wasn't doing a good enough job. He was contemplating suicide, but his card of love and affection and good job with the organ saved her from committing suicide.
That is fantastic. And,
Yeah, that's awesome.
and yeah, and what unites you and I, Robert, is the story of Edwin Edinbury, and he's got a YouTube live, or a YouTube, I should say, YouTube video of his TED Talk. And in the middle of this TED Talk, he's telling a story about, he tells the story of particularly one person in his trails of interviewing 1,000 people about happiness. One story sticks out because it's the only story that went way longer than any of the others. And the reason it went way longer is with the 1,000 interviews, his whole process was he did not do it to share his name. He purposefully wanted it to be like, it's just about a person, sharing that connection and that notion about what about committing to 24 hours of happiness, and to just kind of do it more anonymously, to almost say generically, like it's just to make it a thing that a person does this with another person. And the one person persists to get Edwin's name. And with the name, the guy was able to look up Edwin and to make contact over the phone. Edwin answers the phone one day, and that now this is a conversation, but he was able to have that interaction with him at a time where counseling was not working for him. And so the counselor was not succeeding in keeping him out of suicide ideation. So basically the guy's thank you included that showing that you care. Now that was verbally showing that you care, but now you, Robert, are saying, the power of the card. Don't rule out that a card can play in that role. And just do it as completely as you can, because you don't want to just send the card. Maybe something additional was needed, but boy, send out those cards, because like the organist story.
When I send cards and people come back to me and thank you, I said, how do you feel when you got the card? It's all about feeling. Somebody cared. It's all about
Yeah, and that's a whole concept in itself about gratitude, compassion, empathy, and just taking that approach in life. I mean, with me being in this conversation, it's interesting because I actually ailed in that in the first, couple decades of my life, and probably still am not that great. I probably, even though I talk about it energetically like I do, I could probably still do better in more universally sharing that gratitude and expressing, how I appreciate things. I mean, sometimes you just leave it inferred, or you're trusting they understand, but there's nothing like actually the words coming out of your mouth and sharing that expression, or to have a nice colorful card, or the cards possible through send out cards. Nothing replaces actually sharing your sentiment, because when you don't get it out, and then you think about it later, it's like the woulda, shoulda, coulda, but maybe you didn't, so yeah. What do you think, Emily? What are your thoughts? How does this apply into your life?
Okay, I'm not gonna. I'll keep my comment about meat later. Yeah.
There you go.
There
BID,
you go.
that's what we want. Hey, that falls into what you say, Robert. Emily brought an expression to our team. I always say it's about, I like to get to a point where we celebrate we got or did, but then Emily expounded upon that, and until we can say we got or did, Emily says, how does it go again? It's something like let's get her did. Is that how you say it? Let's get her did.
I don't even really remember, but
Yeah,
something.
something like that. She said in a meeting once. So she was like, "Let's get her did."
Yeah,
That was good.
a lot of people talk and some people do.
Talk? Yeah, some
Yeah,
are talk.
they're all talk and.
Yeah, I'll talk, no action. Yep. So sending out a card is action. Just click that button and you're there.
100%
Some
are
people are election.
100% or what did you say?
100% are opened.
100% of send out cards are open, or just greeting cards in general are always open.
Yeah, both. I mean, how many is every email open? Is every texting responded to? Is every fax or phone call responded to? No, but every single greeting card you send and you receive, you open. 100% done.
Wow, that's good to know, because we know I get a picture like some people are out there throwing out junk mail, and depending on who the person is, thinking they might see a greeting card and still throw it out. But you're saying 100% are open.
Nobody's
That's
ever sent it. No, I've been doing this for 13 years, 24,000 cards. No one ever said, I got your card and threw it away. I never opened it.
right. Right.
Yeah,
Well,
no,
that's
no,
why
totally.
you bring the PhD. There you go.
Yeah, I never totally thought of that in too much detail, but yeah.
I suppose I've always opened my greeting cards, and here we go. PhD and followup.com. Nice. How many referrals are you getting from your present follow-up system? It's a thought. Good question.
Yeah.
So Emily, how many
Yeah,
follow-up?
we should be asking all HMP people that question.
There you go. You make it happen. Emily's a co-host with HMP Wisconsin, Minnesota. And I have fun with the Minnesotans because I say it like that, Minnesota.
Kurt, where are you?
I'm a captain with Emily with Wisconsin, Minnesota, but I also do Indiana, New Jersey, and then we have a nice one with our veteran entrepreneurs.
I'm from New Jersey.
Yeah, I remember you coming on to, you've been on several of those HMP New Jersey meetings, right? Yeah. So yeah, I'm captain over there now. So it used to be Howard Wolpoff was the captain, and he handed it off to me and he got reassigned. So
This is artificial intelligence.
yeah, let's break that open. You mentioned
Yeah.
Andrea and whatever. So
On passive.
yeah, artificial intelligence information technology companies. So let's dive into that. How can AI help a nonprofit? Let's bring that out.
What they do when we go live, we're in beta right now. They will send targeted traffic to the nonprofit's website every single day. Targeted traffic.
Okay.
When I got involved in July of last year, there was 133,000 people involved. Now there's over 1 million people involved.
Oh, well.
It's I will put 2 websites in the chat. Take a look at.
Okay. It's impressive going from thousands to millions.
AIResidual.com and onpassive.com. Check those 2 sites out.
Okay.
And there's going to be 53 products on one platform. One of the products is called Oh Bliss for nonprofits.
Okay.
You can see it. You can see that Oh Bliss on onpassive.com.
Kurt, are you gonna go to these two?
Pardon?
Are you gonna go to these websites now or
Well,
later?
I think what we want to do that, if we're taking time to visit these sites that we go ahead and show it to our audience. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the links out of the chat
Yeah,
here.
I got it. Yeah, well, okay. I'll let you show them.
Go to either one. On Passive will show you more about the products.
Okay. We can go
That's
back
it.
and forth. And am I pronouncing her name? I'm saying Andrea. Is that how she pronounces it?
Andrea,
Yeah. Okay. So I'm doing good.
onpassive.com.
Here we go. Artificial intelligence. Here we go.
There's Bliss right there.
You win it. I like that.
Oh, there's, oh, bless.
So we got
Staff.
mail, organizational communication in a hassle-free manner. Let's see. I was trying to see if
Go to Bliss. That's it.
Bless, you were saying. All right, let's check out Oh Bless. Step forward for a good cause. So here we go.
Thoughtful and
So
effective for causes that matter. That's awesome.
what did you say? I didn't quite catch that. Emma.
There's a thing about for causes that matter. Creating a campaign for causes.
Scroll
that
down,
matter.
you scroll down a little bit, you see what these things is moving, what they are. That's it. Let's go back up.
Go back up.
No,
Oh, right.
Little bit more, little bit more.
Right underneath this. Keep going down a little bit.
Down.
Right
Yeah,
there, right there.
Oh,
Oh, you're too fast. Up.
got
one-
back up.
one, two.
You know, saw those circles, Kurt, right above this?
That's it, right there.
There we go.
I was going up and down, up and down. It was like an elevator. Oh man, create profile pages for causes and backers. Look at this. Access to it. All right, create a useful
Page.
campaign page.
I gave
Wow.
videos.
So Robert, do you know about our H&P nonprofit group? Networking on Wednesdays?
I know, not particular.
All right, so Emily is the one that came up with the idea. She came up with the idea that we do our free happy business networking and do one that has a concentric effort with nonprofits. And so we created H&P nonprofit free happy business networking on Wednesdays, 4:00 Central, which is 2:00 your time out there in California Pacific time. So Emily, you want to describe more on H&P nonprofit?
Yeah, you can add to this, Kurt, please. It's where any and all nonprofits can come together to collaborate, as well as some businesses. It's basically like a collaboration between nonprofits and businesses. Hey, Kurt, that's what.
Yeah, because it's like what's happening here. We're just describing Send Out Cards as a for-profit company, but yet there's great opportunity in you, Robert, as a for-profit company, collaborating with nonprofits for exactly what you're showing us. Well, and then the AI. So both your AI platform and Send Out Cards are both excellent things to bring to the nonprofit world. So if you networked with the nonprofit,
Not if,
what's that?
not if, but when.
Yeah, so we're going to be starting up again January 5th.
No, you said if I do something, and I say when I do something.
Okay. Well, I didn't want to make the decision for you, but now that you're saying yes, it's going to happen. All right. So yeah. Okay. When? So hopefully you can catch us Wednesday, January 5th at 2:00 Pacific. So, and we got Adam Voice in here, who's part of our Onward and Upward team. Welcome, Adam.
You did.
I did that purposely.
Adam, please meet Mr. Robert Rosenthal. So our guest today.
Hi, Adam. You're muted.
Hi.
They're mute.
All right, so just real quickly, I'm going to share H&P nonprofit here. This is how the Happy Neighborhood Project works. So it's showing me Central Time because I'm logging in out of Milwaukee. They are showing as though the next 2 weeks are going to be happening, which is not the case, but you can still register as though you were going to go on those days. And then the link you get will work for January 5th. Otherwise, HMP has a parallel organization that is working in conjunction with bringing everything out and available by the Happy Neighborhood Project. So, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this or not for January 5th at this point, but we will test it out here. We're going to see what they're showing for registration for H&P nonprofit. And yeah, it's showing to register for the 22nd. So basically, December 30th through December 30th through January 5th, you'll be able to register for the meeting on January 5th. But again, if you register for these, like I just successfully registered, you refresh, you go to your dashboard, and then now there's a link. Now it shows December 22nd, but if you just either go ahead and register for the 5th, but the way this works is this join URL works for any week you go, but you do get points for registering. And then plus it's maybe helpful to not miss it, that the display actually says January 5th, and this might go away. This will probably go away on December 23rd. So then it won't be in your list because you're not seeing all the meetings that I did yesterday and so forth in this list. So you definitely want to register so it displays before your meeting. Click join URL and you join H&P nonprofit, 4:00 Central, 2:00 Pacific. So other than that, Emily, we are at the end of our time. So let's wrap it up. Take it away and get us out of here.
Thank you, Robert, for joining us, and Adam. And to thank you for everybody who has tuned in. And for thank you to everybody who has gone to our social media pages. And thank you to Marcus and the Transform You Media Network for letting us use their platform for this podcast. We encourage everybody to come back next time. Be the same place, same time. Anything from you, Kurt?
Absolutely. So a quick thank you to Captain Adam for all of his work in the radio division of what we're doing here at the media network and with Onward and Upward. So there's going to be lots to be sharing in 2022 on the radio for Onward and Upward and everything by Captain Adam. If anybody has any comments, questions, concerns, ideas, things to follow up on, details that we were into here, but we didn't give you what you wanted, feel free to give me a call and text me 262-372-1SKI. That's 262-372-1754. Email me, Kurt, K-U-R-T, at thedisabilitychannel.us. Again, we're here with Onward and Upward nonprofits serving people experiencing homelessness, houselessness, and home insecurity. And we are collaborating with the World of Ability Podcast Network, powered by and made possible by Transform You Media Network. Back to you, Emily. Or we could just cut it off. That's a wrap.